the most important part is your hook. And and that still applies till today. If I had 5 hours to write an ad, I would spend about 3 to 4 hours just keep cleaning up that first sentence, that first part. And I'm role playing my hook. I don't just write them.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Uncensored Direct Marketing. Today, I have Johnson Lee, who is a former partner and CMO at Mike Chang Fitness, amongst other projects. And Johnson, you've pretty much been in the space for over 10 years now and have really crushed it on YouTube, phone sales, just about everything. So I'm really excited to get on this call with you today and discuss about your time at Mike Chang and your upcoming project, the Mirror Message Trading Program, and also your boutique phone sales team. You got like some pretty exciting projects. So I'm excited to dive into all these projects and to explore some of your time at Mike Chang, because I know a lot of people who have been in the space, at least for, the last decade or so, have heard of Mike Chang and six-pack shortcuts, and just all the exciting things that you guys did, especially on YouTube. So if you can give me a little summary of, I know there's a lot of history behind there, but tell me a little bit about what you were responsible for at Mike Chang.
Gotcha. And first of all, thank you, Maria, for having me. It's awesome. And with Mike Chang, I've actually known Mike since we were kids. I met him breakdancing. We used to break dance, and then we were actually competing when we were kids. And then I beat him in a breakdancing battle. And that's how we started. And I was like, this dude's kind of muscular. And he was like, yo, this guy works out. So we started working out together. It was weird because we're the only Asian dudes that were working out at the time. Not a lot of guys were, Asian guys were big, right? Yeah. And that kind of led him to the six-pack thing. But yeah, with six-pack, me and Mike, another Mike story is we started doing fitness sales together. We sold memberships at Bally Total Fitness. I don't know if you guys remember that. It's kind of old school, right? And then we became the top salespeople in the country. So we were like, man, we're pretty good at this fitness thing. We weren't trainers, but we just convinced people to sign up. And then after a while, Mike went off to do real estate and more training. And he became one of the top personal trainers at LA Fitness. And then from there, he went to make his YouTube channel with Dan Rose. And then that's how I kind of got started. Mike called me up. He was like, hey, we're doing I think it was like a $300 coaching package. It was a low coaching package. He goes, Johnson, I know you're doing sales training. I'm at Lifetime now. And I'm doing this thing where I travel around to help clubs recover that aren't profiting. I retrain their sales team. I hire new guys. And he was, I need you to come work with me. And I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, check out my YouTube channel. I'm like, wait a minute. You're recording videos on your phone. I'm not coming to work with you. You're not making any money, So finally, he gave me this speech. He was like, look, I'm never going to ask you to work with me again. This is your only chance. You're going to be stuck, doing whatever you're doing, or you could do something brand new online, right? I have no idea what online marketing was, right? Then came down here, and then the coaching thing didn't do as well. The leads, the $300 leads. So I just started randomly calling calling the customers we had. We had a couple hundred customers a day, just randomly started calling them. And I got about 12 to 14 sales a day for a couple of days on this $127 insane home fat loss program that we had on top of the six-pack shortcuts. Yeah. So customers bought the six-pack, I would upsell them. And then we're like, whoa, you're selling 14 of those a day. And then that's how I got started at six-pack. I started building up a phone team. We decided, let's build a phone team, hire 10 guys, each person doing X amount of gross upselling. And from there, and then going into scripting, because our sales script on the phone works so well. We were like, might as well turn them into VSLs or commercials, right? And I had no idea what a VSL or a commercial. I didn't even know how we were driving leads. I thought we just posted organic videos and there we go, right? Yeah. And from there, started winning on VSL, started converting really well on our ads. And then that's when I started taking the role of the CMO, where I started hiring copywriters, our content writers, our cold traffic writers, our email copywriters. And then also at the same time, building the phone team, then handling production. Once you get massive amount of copy, we needed the production side. We needed the editors, the shooters. And then also we were shooting the free content videos on YouTube. So that's how I got started. And from there, just managing pretty much every aspect of the marketing side, except for ads. That's where our CEO, he did mainly the ad running.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I was involved with the team at the beginning and the inception years. So I saw the tremendous growth. What impressed me the most was you guys just did everything. You were everywhere. It was just like I mean, obviously I was targeted at that point because I was on a lot of your pages, but just even the types of YouTube ads that you guys were putting out, the types of content, the fact that you were giving a lot of free content. I was speaking with, Mike Nadek, who was also a part of your team, a big part of your team. And I was talking to him about my business just recently, like a year or so ago. And he told me something that you guys used at Mike Chang. He said, all of our content was available for free. Everything was available for free. The only thing that Mike Chang did was curate the experience, meaning if you wanted to pay, we would actually curate the program, but everything was available for free. And he's like, we weren't afraid to give anything for free because there was enough customers that wanted to buy the product and have a curated experience. I was like, man, even, it's like just these, you guys were, I guess also, I don't know, there was probably something in the drinking water that you guys put in to have all these like super crazy, intelligent people all in one room working on one company. I was like, where was I when that happened? But yeah, I mean, it was just, there was just so many things. And the reason that I think it was also, quite avant-garde and legendary, it was because this is like, we're talking about 2010. And although it's only 12 years later, I don't know, some people think 12 years is a lot or 12 years is a little. It really depends on, I guess, how old you are. But, 12 years ago, people weren't doing what you guys were doing. They weren't, innovating at the rate and just as quickly as you guys were innovating. It was just new VSL, new ad, new this, new that. Now, I mean, the speed of things, I think, you're in the industry,
Yes.
like people are constantly updating. Back then, as you'd put a page up, it'd be up for like a year. It was like nobody would test controls. Nobody would test anything. You guys were really, when I say you guys, I want to say like the whole team at Mike Chang. I know you had a big part, but there was also, Dan Rose and Mike Chang and Mike Nadek and all these different people that were involved. But you guys were just quick. You made changes, you tested things. And it was like, I think it just gave a lot of people kind of like the standard of what it is to be successful online. And I personally think you guys almost created a model yourself. Like it was that cool. So I'm singing your praises, but it was just, I'm so happy that I had, the chance to be part of a slice of it and see all the stuff that you guys were doing and, have regular calls with some people in the team and just hear about all this stuff. I would talk about payments, but then, I would be privy to other stuff. It's like, cool. Oh my God, you're doing this. Look at this ad, look at that. So, I'm sure it was very exciting, but the thing that I like a lot about your story is, you come from a sales background, because a lot of people are like, oh, when you finish school, going into sales is kind of seen as it's not really
like you don't know what you're doing. That's why you're doing that.
Yeah. Just like
it's
teaching.
True, though.
Yeah. I mean, sales and teaching are two areas I find that a lot of people diminish. Like I like to teach. I know that if I just spent my time teaching, obviously I wouldn't be, as successful as I am on a financial standpoint, but I do love to teach people. And I love educating and giving, but this is why I have the YouTube channel and why I interview interesting people like you. It's because I like to give people information. I just want to share it and stuff like that. But, education and stuff like that is just seen as not as important, but it is. And, people like you who have, done so much in this space are now resulting into educating people, because that's when you get to a certain level of success, you're like, hey, I want to give people back and show people this is the way to do stuff. So I'm so happy that, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later about your new training program, but I'm sure it's probably like a big goal of yours to kind of share the wealth and share the information. But sales is how I hear a lot of people start. And it's something that's diminished. And I think for young people, like when I was a kid, my first job was selling flowers, selling anything I could get my hands on. I was like, I'm going to try to sell it. I'm going to buy this for $5. I'll sell it for $7. I'm going to buy this for $20. I'll sell it for $40. So, the fact that you were so successful at your sales job, I think it just gave you all the steps necessary. So anybody listening, very young, if you can't find a job, go into sales.
Go into sales. I tell my friends, like, if they have young kids, just go straight into sales, and then let them kind of, from sales, they could kind of figure out what they really want to do too.
Yeah.
You know, and then when you were talking about six pack, how, you know, Mike Nadak played a part, Dan Rose played a part, you know, and it's so true because Dan Rose taught us how to organize everything. He's like the master. Well, he's setting up 300 ad campaigns on YouTube. You have to have monster concentration, right?
Yeah.
And then an organization. And then Mike Chang made everybody really happy. He hand cooked meals for the employees.
Nice.
So we would have meals that he hand cooked. And so people would cry when, you know, we had to let people go at times, and people would cry because they wanted to be there so much because of Mike at the time. Wow. And then what I did, I came and brought the sales in. So this is shocking. We actually spoke with VShred, right, with their production and their copy. And then they're asking us like what we did with the pay plans. How do we get our editors to drive harder? What most people don't know is I salsified. I don't know if that's a word. I made everyone pretty much on commission. Even, you know, even our video editors were on a sales plan. They had to hit certain goals to reach certain pay. Same thing with copywriters. You know, our email director was on pure commission.
Wow.
If you've never heard of it, he wrote copy, everything. It's a Christian from BioTrust.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you're familiar with him. Yeah, he was at Six Pack. Just pure commission. So,
and how do you attract? I mean, that's an interesting, you know, way of looking at things, is commission based. But how do you attract people, especially on the early days? I don't know if you started like that, but you know, how do you attract people to come work for you on a commission base only when you're not at the level of Mike Chang or VShred, when you're kind of a little bit smaller, but you know, with good copy or editing or whatever, you can get there?
I think you yourself as the leader have to be really good at what you're doing. So I was confident in my copy and how we're going to run the email. So I would hire this person, pay him commission. I would have to make sure I'm literally outlining the copy and helping this person set it up for the first month or so to guarantee and show this person that this commission pay plan works.
Okay.
You're going to get paid. So I think a lot of managers or leaders, they don't do that. They're like, here's your commission plan, go, you know, figure it out, instead of just hand holding them and make sure their first paychecks, you know, what you're saying is true, right? Like, hey, Maria, you're going to make this much money on this pay plan. If you don't hit that in a month or two, I think it's my fault. You know, I have to make sure you hit that. And after you do that for 2 months, now you're going to be able to grasp it. And then you're actually going to be able to make more money than what you originally had, you know, a set pay plan. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm all for that because I did that when I was younger as well. Mm-hmm. And I always saw kind of the carrot at the end of the stick. It was like, well, if I keep going, I'll get there. But, you know, I do see some people who have a hard time with commission-based structures. Like myself personally, we have a similar story for me in the adult space. When, you know, I had joined the team at Pornhub, it was a very similar kind of grassroots story. You know, I had a friend, same thing. We were childhood friends and come work with us. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't know. And it was more like the excitement of being in the online world and trying something different and so forth. And I did take a pay cut and I did kind of work in not the best kind of glamorous conditions for a while, for the ultimate goal of learning the trade that I learned, that I know now, and, you know, understanding the space and so forth. So I think it's definitely a viable, you know, business or option. And I think it will attract, in my personal opinion, it will attract the people that you actually want to work with. If somebody's afraid of a commission based only, I mean, obviously the commission base has to be at the end more substantial than, you know, your base salary, but it'll attract the people that you want in the end, in my opinion, because people who are not comfortable with performance-based salary are usually people who are not performing.
Yeah. And, you know, and you, like you were saying at Six Pack, you saw we're writing like 40, 50 YouTube ads, and they're not the short 1 minute ads. We're doing 5-6 minute ads sometimes, plus split testing 2 or so VSL per offer per every 3 weeks. Right. So the people that are working there they're not normal. in order to get this stuff done. So if they're taking a normal pay plan, taking the normal lunch, not that any of that's bad, and leaving right on time or coming, they're not going to be able to hit these, we're not going to be able to hit these big numbers. We have one thing that we all agreed on. It was split test big. Like if you didn't win big, it didn't count.
Yeah.
You have to have a 20% win. If you had a 10% split test win, which for most companies, they're already celebrating and popping bottles at a club, right? It was a draw at a 10% because we would say, now that I can look back at it, we're kind of harsh, but we would say it's a computer error. We would say, it could be a computer error, 10% skew, right? And then if you hit 20, that's when you win. And that's how we based all our wins. You must hit 20%. And if you're coming up with a new lead, a new hook on your VSL, and your idea isn't completely radically different, there's no point of testing it. We're not here to get a 1% boost.
Yeah.
We're here to get a 15% boost because I got to pay that guy his commission because he's going above and beyond and working, just writing a VSL in 3 days. We need to make sure he gets paid.
For sure. And 90% of companies, I would say even 95% of companies, whether it's direct response or whatever, there's so many there's a lot of big needle movers that could still be, done versus people who are looking for that 1% bump. I'm like, before you get to your 1% bump, make sure you've tested everything else. Like in the payment space, for example, it's like, if your approval ratio is under 90%, what are you doing wrong? You know what I mean? Like before we start looking at, why you got that one timeout error, let's look at why you have 15% declines that are due to issuing bank or just random stuff, whereas people need to start focusing on those big jumps versus those little ones that can bog you down for like whatever you're going to make, a small percentage of your revenue, which is not even going to be worth your time. So I think you guys, the fact that you guys had, I don't know what to call it, like big minds, and the fact like, kind of dreaming big. It's interesting that you all got together, but it does also lead to, perhaps, I guess, a lot of alphas. I've met a lot of you guys, and, there was a lot of alpha type characters, which, is great on an innovation and business perspective and making money. But on a partnership level, I'm curious to know, I know how things kind of went down in the end, and there were some disagreements and people left and so forth. How do you, based on that experience, how did you grow from that? What did you learn? And how did you build, the rest of your businesses in order to avoid these types of conflicts?
So it was tough because yes, like you said, everybody was an alpha. Everybody was actually really good at what they're doing. We hit big numbers and we all had played a part. So we knew, but at the end of the day, we agreed when it came to stats. We couldn't argue with stats. Right. And what I've learned from it is just don't get mad when your idea doesn't come through. Or I've written an entire 1 hour VSL before, which is like 40 some pages. And Dan Rose, right, our CEO, he would read it and say, this entire VSL is no good, rewrite it. I mean, imagine writing for a week and a half.
Yeah.
Just start over. And this is not a one-on-one meeting. This is the meeting with the entire marketing team. So it taught you to just, hey, don't take anything personal. Your ideas aren't always the best. Even though you're good at what you're doing, don't base it on ego and just, think deep and dive deep and trust the stats.
Okay. So, I mean, basically leave your ego at the door if you want to be successful at a certain point, especially in the early years. So it's interesting. So did you find that, obviously you have this viewpoint right now, but during the time that you guys were there, was it difficult to manage all the different personalities? And you're saying stats were king, but was there ultimately one person that said, if people were disagreeing, was there like a flip a coin guy, like a CEO or CEO that made the final kind of decision?
When it came, originally, when we started, it was Dan, right? The CEO, right? And then he said, if this ad he thinks is good, run it, split test it, whatever, right? Go produce it. If it's not, he had the final say. But after a while, when I was converting and my ads, we would split test. Whenever we had a new offer, we had 3 VSLs come out. You see a lot of people, they just write one, right?
Yes.
So we can't fail because there's 100 employees. Failure is not an option. You need to write 3, 4 VSLs and one of them has to hit, right? So we would split test the top copywriter, myself, Dan would write his own, and we might even contract one out. So there will be 4 different versions testing. But once I started winning and then my VSLs were the top ones, then there was no questioning. Then when it came to the marketing side, I made the final decisions on what creatives are made, what shouldn't, and when it comes to the ad side, the operation, that's Dan. He made the decisions there. Yeah. So it was tough because then under us was alphas too, right? But you just got to be even more alpha. They might be alphas out there, but when they walked into Six Pack, they weren't alpha, because if everybody was alpha, now you're a beta, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the character's there. And I think, the important lesson is, because we get I work with a lot of different teams, and sometimes I see, like the conversations that I'm always in the background. Usually when people are discussing their finances, I'm like, okay, so let me know when all that's taken care of, and it's, I do see a lot of alphas together, and I'm always very curious, how ultimately a decision's made when you got like two, 3, you guys, I mean, we're a lot more than 2 or 3. There was a nice sized team there. And it's, it's sometimes hard when you have people who are, obviously committed people like you and talented people kind of arguing with somebody who also is committed and talented and so forth. And, the thing that I love about your answer is it's numbers. That's it. If you trust the data kind of thing, and this is what the data is telling us, and you leave your ego at the door, then you're gonna be successful.
There's one thing to it. So if beyond numbers, right? If you really believe in your idea, you take a chance. So there's times where I had a lead that I wrote in front of a VSL, and then everybody voted. They're like, no, I don't think it's that good. I really believe this good. I just shoved it through. Hey, went to the video team, shoot this, set the talent, produce it. We're testing it, and just step over your boss. But you got to be confident it's going to work, because if it doesn't, and everybody said, don't do it, and you did it, and you wasted 10 grand in production, and you got to answer to. So you're not gonna get too many favors after that. That's for sure. If that happens. Yeah. So you really got to believe in yourself. If you believe you have something good, you know what? Just do it. And I tell my guys that too. So people that are under me, and I would tell them that I manage, not under me. And I would tell them, if you have a good idea and I don't think it's a good idea on it, let's say it's an email, send it. But hey, if it hits, you get all the praise. But if you don't, you're in deep doo-doo.
There you go. Well, actionable results. I have some kind of geeky questions of things that, like, just how things have changed over time. You've kind of crushed YouTube and done so much on YouTube. I'm just curious, like, are you still using some of the same strategies that you were using back then? Has YouTube not really changed in terms of how you produce and how you put up content and all that stuff? Or has it radically changed since you started?
Personally, I haven't been posting content videos weekly basis. I've been doing mainly just YouTube ads, writing VSLs, but what's changed, and I'm not running the ads, but when it comes to writing the YouTube ads, pretty similar formats. So we had, we would target the 3 sections in a YouTube ad. We would hit the impulse buyers, which are people, like yourself, you love shoes. So if this new pairs of shoes come out and you see in a magazine, your heart instantly goes, I need to just get it. If I see it in the store, I'm probably going to get it. So that doesn't take a long message. So we would do the impulse buyer call to actions, and then we would explain the logic to justify your impulse, because you really just need to be told why, the reason why you really wanted to shoot. You just need confirmation. So the logic confirmation, and then going into testimonial, and then the emotional side of it. So it's the same format, except now you'll see them being rearranged, where you take the testimonial first and then explain the impulse later, or just, so really similar. But at the end of the day, the most important part is your hook. And I think, and that still applies till today. In fact, I've talked to ad agencies, and they don't realize that hook, even though it's such common sense, they don't realize that hook is the most important part. And just the first sentence could change the way your whole ad convert, just one word or one sentence.
For sure. And I do have to comment that I'm not the only shoe fanatic in this conversation. As we can see, you have a lovely display behind you. And we did connect on our mutual love of footwear. Myself for the high heeled end, for you, the sneaker end. But still, I mean, it's, I'm a shoe freak, but that's not what the episode is about. But I do understand that, when I'm presented a pair of shoes, it's like the image of me in those shoes, or the image of like, how is this going to go down? I'm going to wear these shoes with this outfit. It's going to make me feel like this. I have the special shoes that I use to go to special business meetings and meet people and stuff like that. So it's just an emotion. So if I see a pair of shoes of somebody who I can identify with that is doing something successful, that's what I want to do. I want to buy those shoes because, so human emotion obviously hasn't changed for since the beginning of time. But when you said the hook, the hook is really important. I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but because of TikTok, I feel like there's a bit more of an instant gratification. You got like, I don't know, 5 seconds to say something that's going to grab somebody's attention. So whatever time you spend on all the other parts of that video, if that first 5 words, 6 words doesn't grab somebody's attention, you're done. You're toast. Like they've already moved on.
Let's pretend I'm a single guy. I'm younger. I'm a single guy. I'm looking to pick up this lovely lady there. I could be the most educated, the kindest, the smartest, whatever, and done all this work to build myself up. If my exterior, the first 5 seconds that she sees me, if I'm not well put, my hair is not done, maybe I won't get her to even learn about my insides. And that's the same with your ads. You have the best information in the world, but if that first 5 seconds doesn't get them to understand, build a rapport, qualify them, show your whoever you are, they're not going to go on. So that's why you got to spend most of your time on that hooks. If I had a date, if I had 5 hours to write an ad, I would spend about 3 to 4 hours just keep cleaning up that first sentence, that first part.
Wow. So over 50% of your time is really just a hook.
Yes. And I'm role playing my hook. I don't just write them. I started on membership sales where I had to convince people to sign up. Right. And I would take those closing pitches that I used and put them into hooks because those were the most emotional, jarring ones. I'll give you an example. I love role playing. Right. And then, so for instance, a good one that I used for an ad for a lead that actually worked really well was, so when I sold a membership to let's say a 60-year-old and up, and I asked them to sign up, and the guy tells me, no, I got to think about it. I'm not really going to do this. Then I would give him the closing pitch. I would say, hey, Mr. Richard. So when was the last time, can I ask you a weird question before you go? And I understand you don't need to sign up today, but when was the last time you seen an overweight 80-year-old just walking around freely, happy, this year? Me, I haven't. What about you? Oh, and I haven't either. What about overweight 70-year-old? I haven't. What about overweight 60-year-old? Maybe just one. I've seen one overweight 60-year-old just walking around. He's like, yeah. I was like, that's you. You're a unicorn. Did you know most men over 60 that are obese? If you really think about it, where are all the 90, 80, 70-year-olds that are overweight? They're gone. So that's a good closing pitch. It helps them realize, but you're not being mean. So I took that hook, I put in our ads and our VSL leads, and they would convert because it really makes this person think from the very beginning.
Wow. I am very interested in the fact that you said, you spend so much time on your hook. How do you split test your hooks?
So what I'll do is I actually have a document that I'm saving all my ads on Instagram. So on Instagram, I mainly look at shoes. And then beyond that, I look at everyone's ads. I'm constantly Googling every type of, health niche, from diabetes to vision loss, everything. I'm seeing ads. Man, YouTube must think I have every disease in the book, right? So I've seen every ad and I would save them all. And the body copy doesn't really matter to me as much because it's content. I could think of that. I could Google it, right? But the hook is what I'm taking, and I'll use those to convert over. So I'll save those. I also have a journal full of ideas for every niche. And And what I'll do is, some people don't have this benefit, but at Six Pack, I had a full sales team there. So I would grab the sales director and the top salesperson, and I'm like, hey guys, I have this new green supplement, a greens powder idea. What do you guys think? And this one actually converted real well. I'm like, what do you think about onions? I saw a giant purple onions. What if I just tape it to my feet and then stick it right in front of the camera and say, hey guys, well, you're probably wondering, what are these onions doing on my feet? Well, that's how people used to detox back in the days. But unfortunately, that doesn't work, because you have to detox from within, and they all thought, yeah, my grandma used to put onions on her feet. Everybody said that. And I saw the reaction. They were like, yeah, I already know that hook's going to work. It's going to get some attention. If it hits the sales guys who all they do is pitch, that hook's going to be a good one. So then I write from there, and I'll jot these down. I'll put notes. Yeah. But
I think you have a product right there, Johnson. I think that book with all your notes and all the stuff that you just package that up, sell that. That sounds like a tremendous amount of interesting research and what works. But tell me a little bit about the mirror message training program. I mean, obviously you're a YouTube expert, and you know everything there is to know about hooks and creating good content. So tell me a little bit about what your program does and who it's for.
Okay. Well, it's mainly for copywriters who are looking to get into cold traffic, commercial ads, things of that sort, right? A lot of copywriters I know, they're writing for emails, warm traffic offers, and they're more of a fear-based, like scare your customer to sign up kind of deal, where YouTube, you have to stay positive. You can't offend people. You might get a violation or so, right? And then so I decided to put a book together to teach people the difference and to learn how to not only create the hook, but the 5 steps, the proper placement in CTAs, how to put them in verbally. And I mean, how it all got started was just, I was getting booked for a ton of calls, on how to, teaching copywriters how to write specifically for YouTube, how to generate these ideas. And it was just taking up all my time. And I was repeating myself over and over and over again. And I started taking notes, and I decided to put it all together. So this way, if anyone that needs to write YouTube, they're not just burning their money. They could get this and have scripts, understand. Beyond that, also teach sales psychology in there. I believe in order to write sales scripts, you have to understand what a YouTube ad does. It's not designed to sell you right there, teach you to. Normally there's like an 8-point sales, process where you have to qualify, you have to do this. And I kind of break that down and explain how you need to do all that in your ad also. Yeah. But it's for copywriters and offer owners who have their own copywriters. This way you could give them the packet, and it's all in video training. So this way they could visually see it, work along with it, and generate their own ideas.
Well, the interesting thing is also, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're training a cold calling sales team or customer service team that's responsible for selling, if you break down the whole sales psychology, that's a really interesting tool for people to actually hear, because a lot of times you don't realize all these things. It's like the psychological aspect of what you're selling and so forth. So it could also be, I think, used as a little bit of a training manual for a sales, because that's one thing that you're really good at. Like like you said, at Mike Chang, you were doing the phone sales team. When you were in your earlier days, it's face-to-face selling for the gym. So, I mean, so it seems like there's 2 components. There's the whole kind of sales psychology, and then there's how to build the ads and so forth. So you're saying it's a little bit, it seems like to me, like you can't just really be a newbie. It's somebody who's had some previous training in copywriting or kind of knows the space a little bit.
Yes, you can be a newbie if you're new to it. I mean, it's massive. So there's a lot of detail. So if you're new to it, you'll understand because I'll break it down in logical order, from sales process to how to write to brainstorm. So it's done for you in order. And again, it's called the mirror message. And that's one of the mirror message is something I made up. A lot of people do the avatar discovery. Let me find out my my audience. And so the mirror message actually teaches you to think differently beyond just what the audience would tell you. So for instance, when it comes to fitness, if I was to ask one of my friends who's overweight, and I'm like, let's say I go, hey, Jim, why do you want to work out? he's going to tell me what his external layer is going to say. I want to be healthy because he's ashamed of what he's really feeling inside, right? Like, man, I haven't been able to get on a date. Women never look at me. Men don't respect me. I haven't gotten a raise in 15 years at my job while these younger guys are. Those are the real reasons. Yeah. But most people, most copywriters don't dig deep enough because they're afraid to offend the person. But it's those emotions that's hitting them. So that's why I call it the mirror message. It's, what do you say when you look in the mirror and you're not happy with yourself or you need a change? What are those words that person is saying? And you need to capture those real words, not the external ego layer where it's like, I just want to be healthy. Because the truth is, they probably don't care about their health because they're going to live another 20, 30 years. But every second they look in the mirror, they're overweight.
Okay. But I'm curious, why do you say that it's mainly for YouTube? What's different between, let's say, YouTube, Facebook, and the other platforms? Why would it not translate as well on the other platforms?
It will translate. The hooks will translate to Facebook. And so, but the main difference, well, the hook will translate. That you could learn for Facebook. It'll work cross board. It worked for VSLs and things of that sort too. But in the program, it's going to teach you the difference you need in content. Now, the reason Facebook, you've heard Facebook ads don't convert on YouTube and some YouTube ads don't convert on Facebook because you got to remember why they're on that platform. So why do people go on YouTube? People actually sit down, have a drink and a meal and watch a YouTube video, correct?
Yeah.
Prepare themselves because they're ready to learn. They're waiting for content. They're actually watching one video after another and after another. Where on Facebook, you're taking a break, you're taking a cigarette break, or you're in the restroom, or you're, whatever you're doing, and you're scrolling. And that's why it's like a quick 1 minute ad. And yes, there is 40-minute VSLs that they run as an ad, but those are different. It's a different type of marketing. And you can apply the same, hook ad ideas and all that. To me, those long VSLs that you've seen running as ads, they're pretty much a commercial with closure.
Okay. So would you be able to say, or just curiosity, would you say that you take something you build for YouTube and you can find snippets that would work on Facebook so you don't have to kind of reinvent the wheel?
Yes. So what we'll do is, what we used to do is we'll write these YouTube ads. We'll write them out in full length. I usually write around a 5 to 6 minute YouTube ad. And then I would mentally cut down a shorter version. The reason I want the longer version is because I don't want to do a reshoot in case I need some extra copy. It's going to cost money, get schedule and do all that. But if I just write out a long script, I'll have everything I need. I could always cut down, but you can't always add on, right?
For sure.
So for Facebook, we would do what we call the straightforward version, where we cut down some of the content info, what you should do instead, and just shorten it up. And then maybe make the hook a little bit different where you don't need to announce everything.
Okay. Well, That's interesting. And I think, just the psychology and the fact that you're helping create the hooks and the whole program, it'll just relay on so many other platforms. So in terms of the program itself, is it just like a course based, or are you doing any one-on-one kind of coaching with that too?
With the program, we are going to give a free one-on-one coaching, a brainstorm call. And that comes with that. There's also bonuses. And one of the bonuses is going to be the ad hook collection. I thought that would be really cool too, because I have like diabetes offers. I have your, toe fungus to, weight loss, whatever supplements, greens. And through the years, I've been brainstorming all these ideas. I'm just going to plug them in. And I have a unique way of outlining the hook where it's just 2 to 3 sentences. And you'll see that, and you're going to see them all broken down in the program as a bonus. Yeah.
Wow. Johnson, anything else you want to tell us? You've given us so much great information, but any last words or any last thoughts?
One quick thing. Speaking of shoes, I used to tell all my sales guys and the copywriters, all my creative people this. I tell them, look in the mirror, and if you're not happy with how you're dressed, change, because the way you're writing, the way you're speaking to people, it'll all change once if your shoes are right, if your clothes is right, if you look good, you'll write better, you'll sell better. I feel like it's very important. And if you're creative, you got to look creative and just do it. You'll live it. And you got to pretend you're putting on body armor. You're going to war, you're going to work, and all right, this is my armor. I got it. Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that we had a chat, and I know that there's so much information here that you shared, and I loved hearing about your exciting journey. Thank you so much, and everybody listening, don't forget to check out the show notes for all the references that Johnson made about his program and his sales team and so forth. And feel free to reach out to me if you want to get in touch with Johnson. Thank you so much. Hope you found today's session valuable. If you have any questions for me or just want to connect, please feel free to visit my website, mariasparagis.com. That's MariaSparagis.com. I'd love to hear what you're working on, so drop me a line on any hot button issues your business is experiencing. And remember, don't worry about failure. You only have to be right once.